Music at First Hearing. Hello and welcome to First Hearing, our weekly report on new record releases along with critical commentary, coming to you from station WQXR in New York. I'm Lloyd Moss with today's critics, concert pianist Ruth Laredo and Mr. David Dubal, pianist, author, and professor of piano literature at the Juilliard School of Music, making his first appearance on First Hearing. Welcome, Mr. Dubal.
Thank you, Lloyd, and I'm very glad to be here.
Well, your reputation precedes you, and we're delighted to have you aboard. With two such eminent piano authorities present, it's obvious that today's program is going to be piano-oriented. And it will deal with the relatively unfamiliar corners of the repertoire, beginning with three brief sonatas by Domenico Scarlatti in B minor, C minor, and A major. We heard 3 keyboard sonatas by Domenico Scarlatti, an exact contemporary of Bach and Handel. Ruth Laredo, what do you think?
Well, Lloyd, I really enjoyed this enormously. I thought this was modern piano playing at its very best. I loved the sound this person got out of the instrument. It was musically very beautiful. It sparkled. It had a crystal quality, and yet it had strength. And one of the things that I found most interesting and intriguing about it is the feeling of spontaneity. It sounded as if he or she was just improvising it on the spot, and I love that feeling. There's nothing canned or too strict about any of this. It was most enjoyable. I really loved it, and I must say I'm glad this person is using a modern 9-foot piano, because I think if a contemporary piano or what they call authentic instrument had been used, it would be far less interesting, at least for me. But I loved it, and I think the recording itself is quite wonderful. The sound itself is beautiful. I recommend it.
Oh, high marks all around.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ruth. And do you agree with Mr. Laredo, David Dubal, or do you have opinions of your own on the matter?
Lloyd, I would say that Scarlatti, who was the greatest harpsichordist of his time, Handel heard him at a party, and he said it must be either Scarlatti or the devil playing. And, in his own life, he published only 33 of these 600 works. And what I liked about this, these are quite unhackneyed. It seems that pianists will always play the same Scarlatti sonatas, and this was very good playing, very good fingers, marvelous. There was quite a bit of joy in it. I think that Andrew Porter would disagree with you. He would probably have said this is a very good performance on the wrong instrument. He would have wanted to hear it on a harpsichord. But it's definitely piano playing on the piano. He has many, many dynamics and so forth, and it would be totally different on a harpsichord. Good sound recording and a very pleasant experience.
Well, that's a very pleasant experience for everybody who's listening and enjoying the music. The performer is Mordecai Shahori.
Oh, well, how wonderful
nice.
for him.
Friend of mine.
Tell me.
Glad
Yes?
I know him
I'm glad I
too.
didn't say anything bad.
Well,
You didn't have to.
which one of you would care to expound on Mr. Shahori?
Oh,
his
my
career?
goodness. Either of us could, I'm sure. He is one of the most wonderful characters, a warm man who was born in Israel and studied with Lapati's, with Mindru Katz, who studied with Lapati's teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And he's always very concerned with tone and sound, and he's very sensitive.
Yeah.
And
Also studied with Ilona Kabosh and Beveridge Webster here, graduate
when he was
of
at
Juilliard
Juilliard,
School,
yes, when he was
right?
at Juilliard.
And with Claude Frank at
Yeah.
the Manus
Really?
College
I
of
didn't know
Music.
that.
Yeah.
Well, Mordecai is someone I've known for many years, and I really have never heard a recording by him. This must be a debut recording, is it?
Yes, it is. And the New York Times praised his 1984 sold-out New York concert. I think it was Donald Hanahan who wrote a welcome reminder that there was a place for originality in recreations of classical music.
Oh,
That's
he's
a
right, isn't
good
he?
Review. Yes,
Sounds
and
like it.
Yeah. Connoisseur Society disc. And incidentally, Mr. Shahori will be heard in New York's Wow Recital Hall in June of this year.
I
next
wish him
month.
well. He plays beautifully.
Yeah. This disc also contains music by Beethoven and Brahms. All right, thank you, friends. In a moment, music by Debussy to follow on First Hearing. Now First Hearing continues with music by Claude Debussy, but relatively unfamiliar music, the prelude and first tableau from his piano suite La Boîte à Joujou, the toy box, dating from 1913. We hear the prelude and first tableau of Debussy's 1913 children's ballet, La Boîte à Joujou, the toy box. David Dubal, did you enjoy it?
No, I didn't enjoy it at all. It's bad Debussy. I wouldn't want to hear the whole 30 minutes or whatever the whole thing takes. I did hear this once in my class at Juilliard. Someone had played it, Boaz Sharon, Israeli pianist. And you can tell that this was a work that Debussy indeed wanted to orchestrate, I believe, but didn't. And it has nothing to do with the piano writing of Debussy, 1913. That's the year that he had finished the second book of Preludes. And, of course, these are masterpieces of piano manipulation. This is just literally like a raw pencil sketch of what would sound very amusing, no doubt, watching the scenario and listening to Debussy's magical orchestration, which in 2 years would be fulfilled with a work like Je, his ballet of 1915. But this is an intolerable piece with many sparkling ideas that just ramble on and so forth. And I wouldn't hear it again.
This was orchestrated, but I gather not by Debussy.
But not by Debussy, probably by Kirchlin.
Or Caplet,
yeah.
I think. Well, thank you. What about the performance itself?
It sounded good. It's dry. It has a rhythmical quality. The tops of the piano well recorded, and but basically, I wasn't really listening so much to it because it doesn't show anything creative for the pianist to do.
Mm-hmm. How would you compare it with a Sharon performance that you heard?
Same thing. They were both good. I thought, yes.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Well, Ruth Laredo.
Gee whiz,
Yeah,
I find it very unusual to disagree with my friend David, whose opinions I respect so much, but I really like this.
Okay.
I must say I've never heard this music before, and I didn't really know it was a piano work. And I wondered if you could tell us, Lloyd, the origins of it, if it's a transcription by Debussy of something, or if he started with this and then orchestrated it, or what, because I'm totally unfamiliar with it.
You did know that he wrote it for his daughter.
Well, I imagined that it was for her. It sounds like a child's piece.
Yeah, she was 7 at the time, and he said that he was inspired by her world and by her toys as well. But actually, the inspiration came from an illustrated story by an artist named André Hallé.
I see.
And as far as the musical source, I think he used his own material, didn't he? We did hear samplings. It's hard to know which came first, but you did hear other pieces, such as the Dog's Dance from the...
Yeah, and so forth. That came around 1908. I only mean that this is Debussy's definite piano reduction of this. I don't know where he went with it in the orchestra. As Lloyd said, he didn't orchestrate it. But what I object to only is that I would not, as a piano work, study this. I mean,
yes, when there's so much else to do. That's great by Debussy.
It's just not idiomatic Debussy. Yeah.
Well, that's where I disagree with you. I loved it, especially the first one. I found it very interesting and imaginative and amusing. And, of course, these days you're looking for new things if you're recording something. I suppose that's a very good reason for whoever this is to have done so.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of fun to hear a brand new piece of Debussy for piano that we don't hear.
Well, that's a very positive view.
Gee,
David,
I try to be positive when I can be.
I agree with that. I mean, many people who love Debussy would, certainly want to collect this, and I don't mean that there's not any attractive material. It's just that as a piano work, I would have liked to have actually heard the orchestration of this, and Debussy obviously didn't care to do it, so I don't think he thought enough of it himself, frankly.
I have to throw myself on the mercy of the court and admit that I did something rather underhanded, and you came through nobly, David, when I asked you to compare it with a performance you had heard of Boaz.
It's him?
That's who it is?
And you said the same. You said it was the same.
Yeah.
You acquitted yourself beautifully.
You can count on him.
Yeah. Tell me about Boaz Sharon.
Oh, he's a young pianist who is very interested in obscure works, especially of the French literature. Born in Israel, and I know that every year he always goes back and does his patriotic duty in the army. And he comes every year or two to give a class in my piano literature class in Juilliard. A charming fellow. I think he did some piano music of Kirchlin on record, and I know that he loves every piece that Debussy wrote. And he's done much research, and that's how that had happened in my class.
And I understand he's currently professor of music and piano at Florida University.
That's right, Gainesville or city like yes.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's an all Debussy disc.
Let me tell you something. I'm glad I came through all right on that.
You did fine. It's a Unicorn Canciano label. In a moment, we're going to have music by Manuel de Falla to conclude today's first hearing. Now, first hearing continues with Manuel de Falla's evocative Nights in the Gardens of Spain, a 3-part tone poem for piano and orchestra. We're going to hear the second and third sections, Danza Lejana, Distant Dance, and In the Gardens of Cerro de Córdoba. We heard the second and third parts of Manuel de Falla's Nights in the Gardens of Spain. Ruth Laredo, do you have many words of wisdom to impart?
Not really wisdom, but I must say enthusiastic words. I feel like getting out my castanets. It was so exciting, the performance and the music itself. It's colorful, evocative music. I think it was beautifully played, and for me, I have a little bit more appreciation of what it means to play de Falla well, because my own experience in the past few years has included some recordings of de Falla and Albéniz, and I really had no idea how difficult it is to make this music really speak. It sounds a little less difficult than some piano music that we know, but it's like Mozart. Every note counts, everything is clear, the phrasing has to be wonderfully worked out. And so when you hear something like this performance where the sound is so beautiful and the feeling of abandon and the idea of Spain is so clear, it's a good pianist and a wonderful orchestra, and I liked it. This is a real good program today, Lloyd.
Well, that's because you're here.
No, the music's wonderful.
Thank you, Ruth Laredo. David Dubal?
Lloyd, I agree with Ruth in many ways. This is a very evocative performance, filled with the lemon scent of night and the perfume of Spain. And again, I'm sorry we didn't hear all of it, because this piece is Spain. I mean, when you hear it, you really do want to go there, and you see the veils and the beautiful women, and it's one of the, certainly it is the greatest work for piano and orchestra by a Spanish composer. It was written around 1917, and I so agree with you, Ruth. This piece, Harold Bauer once said, is, even though so many parts of the piano part is just unisons, it's so terribly difficult and tricky. Yes. Gonzalo Soriano was once asked, how do you play Spanish music? Because it is outside a little bit of the mainstream of European romanticism. How? And he said it's like a foreign language. You just have to get that accent right. And someone here got the accent right. There's no doubt about it. There was a real feeling between the orchestra and the piano. It's really a work with piano obbligato, and the pianist, if he's trying or she's trying to show off,
in this case,
will really be in a disastrous, mode, because the work is a blend. And I heard this blending. I liked it very much.
Oh, yeah. High praise once again. And etc. or etc. I don't know which, but it's a compact disc. The Tenerife Symphony Orchestra under Victor Pablo Perez, and the pianist is Guillermo Gonzalez. Born in 1945, Spanish-trained, winner of several European competitions, with, we are told, many international concerts to his credit. Or am I telling you things you already know? Are you at all familiar with the name?
Don't know that orchestra. Certainly, it's they certainly feel their own Spanish music, this ensemble, and no, I don't know anything about them.
It's an unfair question to ask, especially when we only have about 20 seconds left, of why this estrangement, why this one area of Europe that is in exile from the rest of the musical community.
Know.
Funny, huh?
I've recently played in Philadelphia at the Curtis Institute, my alma mater. Gary Graffman, who's the director, asked me to play a program that would be interesting for the kids there. This was just a few weeks ago, and I put the whole second half of Spanish music on it.
Oh,
Albéniz and de Falla. He said, the kids don't know this music. It'll be good for them. I can't figure it out. I think it's looked down upon in some way because it isn't German or French, but it's great in my opinion, and I think it has a lot to offer.
Oh, amen.
It's getting that accent,
Yeah. Well, we have to say adios. We conclude first hearing for today. Thank you, panelists, Ruth Laredo and David Dubal. David, come back.
I'd love to. Thank you for having me.
And until next week at the same time, this is Lloyd Moss for First Hearing. First Hearing is programmed and produced by George Jelinek.